For years, the world has watched China build its military power around Taiwan. Every exercise and satellite image is scrutinized for signs that Beijing is finally ready to move. Much of that conversation traces back to 2021. Admiral Phil Davidson, then commander of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, warned that China could attempt to seize the island by 2027. Almost overnight, that assessment turned into an unofficial countdown to war. But if an invasion is truly scheduled for 2027, the preparation should already be visible. So far, there has been no nationwide mobilization, no conversion of civilian industry, and no logistical buildup on the scale a cross-strait invasion would demand. The world's fixation on a ticking clock may be obscuring the actual strategy unfolding on the ground. For the Chinese Communist Party, Taiwan is where the Civil War never really ended. In 1949, Mao Zedong's units took control of the mainland and founded the People's Republic of China. Chiang Kai-shek's nationalist government retreated to Taiwan, creating a stalemate that has lasted for decades, with both governments historically claiming to represent all of China. Today, Beijing insists there is only one China, and that Taiwan is an inseparable part of it. Meanwhile, Taiwan has evolved into a thriving democracy with its own government, military, and independent institutions. For Xi Jinping, reunification is part of what he calls the Great Rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. It is discussed less as a standard policy and more as a historic calling, sacred and inevitable. China is modernizing its military at a remarkable pace, deploying advanced hardware like the DF-41 missile. But modernization is distinct from mobilization. Beijing is building high-tech weapons, but it is not yet staging the massive ground forces required for an assault. Beijing may be willing to wait because they want Taiwan without paying the immense economic and human price of taking it by force. An amphibious assault across the Taiwan Strait would be one of the most complex operations ever attempted. Invading forces must cross 100 miles of open water. Taiwan's rugged eastern mountains and dense western urban areas create a natural fortress, leaving only a few viable landing sites and forcing invaders into vulnerable bottlenecks. Even if a force secures a beachhead, the lush, steep mountains of the interior make a rapid victory nearly impossible. Military success on the beaches would likely be followed by a brutal, protracted struggle through some of the most difficult terrain on Earth. A conflict would immediately trigger a global political crisis. Major trade routes would be severed, halting goods the global economy relies on. The economic blowback would be severe. Sanctions and financial instability could threaten the domestic growth the Communist Party uses to maintain power. Hovering over every calculation is the ambiguity of U.S. military intervention. The possibility of direct conflict with American forces remains the most significant strategic deterrent. For a leadership that prioritizes internal stability, pulling the trigger today carries the risk of fracturing the economic foundation of the state. This points to a deeper shift in Beijing's thinking. Rather than asking if they can take Taiwan today, they appear to be asking if the task will become easier tomorrow. Chinese policymakers appear to believe that every year without conflict shifts the military and economic balance further in their favor. If the United States eventually chooses to stay out, the military calculus for the island's defenders shifts significantly. Beijing may simply be waiting for the moment when the cost of American intervention becomes too high for Washington to pay. While the West focuses on a specific 2027 deadline, Beijing's actual strategy involves a gradual expansion of influence and military weight in the region. The pressure on Taiwan is cumulative. By isolating the island and letting the military balance tilt further in their favor every year, Beijing aims to reach a point where reunification happens by sheer weight of presence. There is a widespread assumption across the globe that a direct, violent military clash over Taiwan is imminent. It's easy to see why. Just look at the sheer scale of warships, aircraft, and missiles operating in the Pacific right now, ready for conflict. But despite possessing the world's largest navy and overwhelming regional firepower, Beijing refuses to pull the trigger. A full-scale invasion is a terrifying gamble for Chinese leadership. If an assault escalated into a broader conflict, it would instantly sever global trade, wreck China's economy, and erase decades of growth. Capturing the island means very little if it leaves mainland China in ruins. This restraint reflects a deliberate calculation. A violent war would likely destroy the very prize they are trying to win. Inside the halls of Chinese leadership, officials approach the entire geopolitical equation differently. They operate under a specific doctrine. The reunification of Taiwan is an absolute inevitability rather than an urgent emergency. While their own industrial base and naval forces expand, they look across the ocean and see an America distracted by foreign conflicts and bogged down by domestic political division. Whether that assessment of the United States is accurate is secondary. The Chinese believe it. They are holding back out of supreme confidence, convinced that by simply waiting, their position grows stronger, while America eventually steps aside. This satellite view of the Taiwan Strait shows the true theater of operations. Here, across this narrow median line, Chinese forces conduct frequent drills, applying relentless pressure just below the threshold of war, a tactic called strategic conditioning. These daily airspace incursions are designed to normalize fear. Frequent drills allow Beijing to project a sense of inevitability without ever firing a shot. Once a military threat becomes a normal daily occurrence, it loses its political impact. Each exercise makes the next one seem completely routine, numbing the international response to a shrinking buffer zone. That military shadow is backed by aggressive economic coercion. Millions of Taiwanese citizens work on the mainland, and massive industrial supply chains trap the two economies together. For Beijing, creating financial dependence increases the cost of political separation. Individually, an export ban or a naval drill won't force a surrender, but layered together over decades, they shape a suffocating environment designed to make Taiwan's eventual submission feel completely unavoidable. The Taiwan of today is completely different from the Taiwan of 30 years ago. Force alone cannot dictate culture. An entire generation has grown up inside a vibrant democratic system. Surveys consistently reveal a population that identifies primarily as Taiwanese, and military coercion cannot force them to suddenly feel Chinese. Every Taiwanese election exposes this widening cultural divide. Beijing monitors these races closely because they highlight a population pushing to maintain its distance and deepen ties with other democracies. This creates a psychological trap for China. Push too hard with military and economic threats, and Taiwanese independent identity hardens. Ease off, and the political separation might become permanent. Despite China's overwhelming military might, their invisible siege is stalling. The simple passage of time is cementing Taiwan's distinct identity, pulling the island further out of Beijing's reach. Much of China's restraint policy relies on a single massive assumption. The entire doctrine of inevitability only works if tomorrow consistently offers better opportunities than today. This animated chart illustrates the foundational requirement for Beijing's plan: perpetual, endless Chinese economic growth. This constant expansion is necessary to maintain their geopolitical leverage. If that internal growth engine fails, the mathematical logic supporting their entire waiting game instantly collapses. Today, China is colliding with severe domestic crises. Economic growth has slowed sharply from the highs of previous decades, while a massive property sector sits abandoned, plagued by deep structural issues. Alongside this economic slowdown is an even deeper structural threat: plummeting birth rates and a workforce that is aging rapidly. Sustaining a patient, multi-decade geopolitical siege demands enormous compounding strength. That requirement contradicts the reality of an economy sliding into demographic decline. These domestic pressures are flipping the leverage in the region. A shrinking workforce and an aging population mean time is actually running out for China, not Taiwan. The day Beijing's leaders look at their internal data and decide they can no longer afford to wait is the day this quiet, invisible siege finally explodes into the global conflict the world has been dreading.